a woman, and an old truck that connects them. David, a man living in the shadows of the past, until Rachel came to his garage, searching for her lost dreams. Rachel, despite her life filled with success and wealth, couldn't fill the emptiness inside. An old truck reminded her of freedom and the passions she had lost. How do the paths of a mechanic and a millionaire cross? Can a truck bring back lost dreams? This isn't just a race, it's a story of breaking free from the marks of the past and starting anew. Don't forget to subscribe. New stories await you every day. David felt like he had lost track of time. Every morning, when the darkness still drunkenly wrapped around the streets, he would slowly open the garage door and stand before the cold metal. As he placed his hands on the rusty tools, no matter how many years passed, each one reminded him of something. Clara's laughter, the childhood moments of his son, all of them were hidden in each piece of these old cars in the garage. But now, those memories were just shadows, their truths lost. After his son left for college, no one had stepped into the house. When he heard his own voice, it only echoed back at him, making the silence in the walls of the house grow louder. These old cars had once filled every gap in David's life. But now, the rattles of the engines gave him not peace, but sorrow. Every tangible thing seemed like a symbol of a lost dream. The shadows of the past would occasionally approach him in the garage, almost as if they were gently patting his back. He used to remember the happy days when he and Clara would drive those cars and feel the wind hit their faces. But those days were gone. Clara's departure had left an emptiness, and whenever he turned back, everything seemed colder, lonelier than before. In David's mind, the noise of the old engines rang like echoes of the happiness he once lived, but no matter how hard he tried, these echoes couldn't bring him peace. One morning, as he opened the garage door, he felt the weight of the past press down on him again. Every day he lived seemed to bring a little more despair, a little more loneliness. But still, the bond with these cars hadn't broken. They were a silent agreement he had made with his past. Every piece, every screw falling into place gave him the hope that maybe, just maybe, he could fix his past. But no matter how hard he tried, he could never bring back something that was lost. As David pulled the truck into the garage, his eyes sparkled with an old fire. He remembered how alive this rusted, peeling, long-abandoned truck once was. His eyes saw the potential beneath this old pile. This truck was more than just metal and tires. Every scratch, every layer of rust, was a trace of a passion that had once been inside it. The cold and gray days of the past would come back to life in every part of this truck. The truck's owner was an old friend he had known years ago. The man had come up to the garage door and asked David if he was up for the task. "This is your job now," David had said, as simply as he remembered. Everything had started like a cycle. That feeling, long lost and fading, suddenly came back to life. At that moment, David could feel something stir inside him once again. As he pulled the truck into the garage, he ran his hands over every part, checking every detail. The marks of time felt so familiar to him. He thought everything could be set right again, that everything could return to the way it once was. This truck was, in fact, a new beginning. Inside it, he had found the trace of something lost. Now, everything was coming back to him, the piece of the work he once did, the taste of everything he had created in every detail. As he looked under the truck's engine, he remembered how difficult a job it had once been. But this time, everything felt different. He was no longer alone, that old feeling was now accompanying him. "I used to be able to do this," he thought to himself. "And I can do it again." He climbed inside and grabbed the steering wheel. The metal under his hands felt almost like an old friend. He had been waiting so long to reconnect with it, to give it life, to breathe life back into it. With each passing day, he was remembering his old skills, the drive and excitement he once had. The truck's engine didn't seem to want to start. David, with patience, turned the key once again, but the engine just hummed and fell silent. He didn't give up. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his old key, placed it on the cold metal, and took a deep breath as he opened the truck's hood. The cold air began to drift into the garage. David had done these kinds of repairs for years, but this time, something was different. The shadows of the past, that old excitement, seemed to be searching for meaning in this old truck. As he looked at the engine, something caught his attention. He noticed something slip from his hand and fall to the ground. He quickly bent down and found a photo. Slowly, with trembling hands, he picked it up. The photo was yellowed, the edges worn. A young girl was standing next to the truck, smiling. There was no worry on her face, her eyes were full of life, with a look directed toward her dreams. He studied the photo, but there was no writing on the back. David put the photo in his pocket and closed his eyes for a moment. In that instant, he felt a passion he had lost years ago: speed. This truck reminded him of the freedom he once had, the wind racing through him on the racetracks. Back then, everything revolved around speed, every race, every journey was a passion. But unfortunately, over time, that passion had faded. Those exciting days from the past were gone, lost amid the responsibilities and losses life had brought. He slowly took a step back and began to inspect the engine again. This old truck once carried the power that won races, offering him freedom. But over the years, the noise of the engine and the roar of the wind had been replaced by silence. Far from the racetracks, it was now just memories of the past. The routine of every day left only loneliness and lost dreams in his heart. But now, he thought again about the photo. The girl, the smile. Even though everything felt lost, maybe this was an opportunity to start again. Maybe getting this truck running again wouldn't just bring the old engine to life, but would bring back a passion that had been lost. He turned the key once more. The engine still didn't make a sound, but David wasn't ready to give up. Slowly and carefully, he went over every part, putting in the effort to bring back that old power. He remembered how passionately he had worked on it once. He didn't just want to bring this truck back to life, he wanted to reshape his own life again. And maybe, with this old truck, he could bring speed back into his life, find the lost hopes of the past once again. One morning, the voice of a woman arriving at the garage decided to give David's lonely world a new direction. When the woman stood in front of the garage, David was still waking up with the first light of the morning, tired and alone, standing by the old truck he was trying to fix. The cool air, the heavy scent of metal inside the garage, and the humming wind stirred something inside him when he heard her footsteps. Slowly, he lifted his head. The woman was quite graceful. There was a sadness in her eyes, but it was such a deep sadness that it seemed to carry the traces of something lost for years. As she slung her large bag over her left shoulder, David's gaze lingered on her sorrowful look. There was something, the emptiness inside her, the accumulated pain over the years, something strangely familiar. From the very first glance, David felt that this woman's story ran deep. As the woman stepped toward him, the mixture of softness and determination in her voice made David focus all his attention on her. After gently greeting him, she said, "My truck, I need help with it." David nodded hesitantly. The truck looked like nearly abandoned junk. The paint was peeling, the tires looked like they had burst, and the engine wouldn't start. But judging by the expression in the woman's eyes, this truck wasn't just an ordinary vehicle to her. "You said you want to fix it," David said, his voice carrying a slight questioning tone. The woman nodded slightly and continued, "Yes, this truck, it's a part of my past. It holds an important place in my life. But I don't want to use it anymore. I just want to leave my past behind and move on." David noticed the tremor in her voice. Slowly, he examined the truck, his hands moving over the cold surface of the metal. "Your past?" he asked, but the meaningful look in her eyes told him no more questions were needed. The woman took a deep breath and began to speak. "Once upon a time, this truck was the only thing that turned my dreams into reality. I was young, I wanted to build something. With this truck, I started leaving the town I grew up in, heading toward distant places. My whole life shaped around this truck. It taught me freedom, how to find my own path. But then life changed everything. I made a fortune, had everything. I grew my company, became a millionaire, but there's an emptiness inside me. When everything was too much, something was missing. I've always carried the memories of this truck. It reminds me of a part of me that's lost, but now I don't know what to do. As David looked into her eyes, it felt like she had drawn something from him. After hearing Rachel's words, he remembered his own past, the lost dreams he once had. The truck, it seemed like a remnant of an old dream, yet it was so alive, just like the lost passions inside Rachel. Rachel's voice rose slightly, but she still seemed somewhat lost. It's hard to let this go. I've given so much time to it. I traveled the world with that truck, so many things happened in my life. But now, it feels like it's all over. I have everything, but I don't feel like anything is left. There was a pause. Rachel's emotional storm seemed to awaken a lost part of her. David realized how difficult it must be for such a strong woman, one who had achieved so much, to still feel an inner emptiness. At that moment, he realized that not pursuing his own old dreams was the root cause of his own inner void. He remembered how he, too, had experienced disappointments and losses. From the moment he started fixing the truck, David had taken a step into something. It wasn't just a job, it was a story, a moment where two lost souls came together to find their pasts and try to touch life again. Rachel noticed David's focus and slowly said, "Just help me. There's no need for this, but I want to finish something, put the past behind, and start anew. I think you can do it." David realized, deep inside, that he wanted to spend more time with this woman. It wasn't just about fixing a truck, it was about touching a person's lost dreams, the pieces they had lost. It was seeing the complexity of life and how each of us searches for the pieces that are sometimes lost. He realized that Rachel wasn't just leaving behind an old truck, but also her lost dreams inside her. The struggles, losses, successes, and the emptiness that followed had brought them closer. The truck had been a symbol of all the dreams and pains she once had. But perhaps this truck was only the beginning. David nodded, giving her a look, and said, "I can fix it. But there's something, Rachel. While doing this, maybe you'll, in a way, be reborn too." "This truck changed my life," Rachel said, a touch of nostalgia in her voice. Her eyes drifted far away, as if she was trying to wipe the dust of the years and recall each moment. "Everything started with this truck. It reminds me of freedom, of hopes, and of what I've lost." As Rachel's sadness soaked into David, the truck, which had left deep marks in her past, suddenly transformed from just a vehicle into a symbol of a dream, a struggle. This truck had witnessed the turning points in Rachel's life, each journey, each new beginning, each loss. Fixing this truck and bringing it back to life was more than just a mechanical task for Rachel. She hoped that by revitalizing this vehicle, she could also bring back the lost pieces of herself. With every word Rachel spoke, David faced his own past. What she said resonated in him like the echoes of a lost dream. Slowly, he placed his hands on the oily, metal parts. It felt like he wasn't just fixing the truck, but also mending the lost dreams of his own life. Once, just like Rachel, he had wanted to chase his dreams. When he was young, he wanted to feel the wind on the racetrack, enjoy the taste of speed and freedom, and above all, find his own path. But life never gave him the chance to hold on to that passion. Marriage, a child, and then years of struggles slowly erased his dreams. Clara's illness, the household expenses, his son's future. All these things wiped away David's dreams and passions. He had to put them aside, dedicating every day just to surviving. But now, standing in front of him, Rachel reminded him of that old passion and those lost hopes. David closed his eyes for a moment, journeying back into the past. He returned to those days, his youth, the dreams filled with speed. He remembered how his heart raced in the car on the racetrack, how he believed that anything was possible with the bright light in his eyes. But then that light slowly started to fade. Life had passed quickly, and years had followed one after another, surrounding him with habits and responsibilities. Rachel's words touched David's soul. It was as if he had found again that lost passion deep within him. He could now feel the lost dreams inside him once more. Was that old David, the brave young man who would risk everything to reach his dreams, still somewhere deep inside? Rachel's desire to repair the truck had reminded him of the lost parts of his life. David looked at Rachel, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. "When I heard that, I felt so much," he said, his voice filled with a deep sigh. "I once wanted to live my dreams too. But life gave me different things. Life made me walk this path alone." As Rachel looked at him with her eyes, she realized that he could still find those lost dreams within himself. In their eyes, they saw a reflection of an old time. Can the lost hopes, wiped away so ruthlessly by life, grow again simply by remembering those moments? Could those old dreams be reborn? David took a deeper breath, but this time he started to feel that lost excitement, that old hope inside him once again. "You know," he said, "as the days passed, my dreams seemed to disappear, like distant memories. But now, when I hear what you've said, those old feelings have awakened in me. It feels like I've found everything I once lost. Maybe I can do what I dreamed of once again." A faint smile appeared on Rachel's face. "Maybe," she said, "there really is a way for everything. Finding those old dreams again is only possible by courageously embracing them once more. Maybe, by helping each other, we can rediscover those lost hopes." David saw a new light in Rachel's eyes. He realized that bringing his dreams back to life wasn't just about fixing the truck. It was a form of rebirth. The pain and losses of the past would be left behind, making way for a new beginning. The experiences and pains life had given him would now serve as a roadmap for both of them. And in that moment, David knew something was about to change in his life. As he repaired each part of the truck, perhaps he would also repair the parts of himself. Life would never be easy, but chasing lost dreams, holding on to life again, and helping each other might just be the most important thing. "We can do this together," David said, firmly. "We have to give ourselves a chance. A chance for our dreams." Rachel nodded slightly, smiling. "Yes," she said. "We can succeed together." As the days passed, an unspoken bond began to form between Rachel and David. Initially brought together to repair an old truck, these two people began to touch each other's lives more deeply. Rachel hadn't come just to fix her truck. She was seeking something much more. She was searching for the joy, freedom, and passion that had been lost in her past. This truck reminded her of everything that had been lost over the years. She was determined to do whatever it took to bring back the old goals that had given meaning to her life, to restore the free spirit that had once empowered her. David, on the other hand, began rediscovering his own lost dreams through the empathy he felt for Rachel's story. Each moment spent with her was reigniting the passions he had left behind, the hopes he had lost. Rachel's struggles and losses reminded him of his own. Whenever they worked together, it felt like they weren't just fixing the truck, they were finding the pieces of themselves that had been lost for years. The truck had become, not just for Rachel but also for David, a rebirth, a second chance. One evening, after working on the truck all day, Rachel suddenly turned to David, her eyes sparkling with a different light. "I want to enter a race," she said. Her tone carried such determination that it gave him the courage to offer the response she had been waiting for. "Maybe my truck isn't fully restored yet, but we need to take this journey again. We need to find that old excitement, that freedom." David froze for a moment. There was so much meaning in what Rachel had said that his mind became a whirlwind. A race. This was more than just a truck race. Rachel was trying to bring back the joy she had bottled up for years, to reclaim the freedom she once felt. That race wasn't just about the truck, it was about being reborn, overcoming lost hopes, dreams, and even fears. David realized that this proposal wasn't just about racing with the truck, it was about touching a life, confronting the past, and taking a powerful step forward. Rachel looked at David with anticipation in her eyes, a faint smile forming on her face. "What do you think, David? Maybe the greatest gift this truck can give us is a journey back to our old dreams." Something inside David stirred. It felt like a long-awaited opportunity. Rachel was reigniting his lost passion, making him feel that old excitement again. Entering a race wasn't just about following the traces of the past, it was a chance to make a new beginning. Rachel's courage had sparked his own. "Maybe you're right," David said, an old gleam returning to his eyes. "Once, speed, freedom, and that excitement meant everything to me. I lost that, but going on this journey with you. Maybe this is a chance to find everything I've lost." Rachel smiled, a light of hope in her eyes. "We need to do this," she said. "No matter how long it takes for my truck to be fully restored, I want to feel that excitement, that freedom again. Together, we should walk that old road and discover that everything is still possible." David, seeing Rachel's determination and strength, took a deep breath. Entering the race, something he had once dreamed of, would make him feel alive again, bringing back the lost freedom, passion, and confidence. It wasn't just about fixing the truck, it was about two lost souls holding on to life again. "All right," David said, a determined smile on his face. "We have to go down that road together. To feel that excitement again, to capture that old freedom. Maybe this race isn't just a journey, but an opportunity to regain our faith in ourselves." And so, Rachel and David didn't just enter a race. That race became a journey to confront the past, reclaim lost dreams, and maybe even relive the freedom they had once forgotten. The truck had become not just a vehicle, but a key to finding their lost souls once more. On the day of the race, their truck didn't seem as powerful compared to the other vehicles. Old, rusty, and carrying the wear of years, it looked as though it couldn't keep up with the modern race cars. However, the determination within David and Rachel was above all else. For them, this race was not just a competition, it was a way to rediscover the lost dreams, to leave behind the burdens of the past. The truck was more than just metal and rubber, within it lay years of suppressed yearning for freedom, the echoes of a lost life's passion. The other racers, with their shiny metal bodies and powerful engines, smiled confidently. There were mocking looks in their eyes. When they saw the truck, Rachel and David could almost read their thoughts. What's this old junk going to do? But they didn't mind. There was something beyond everything. They had shaken off the weight of the past and had begun to dream again. This race wasn't about victory, but about the journey they were taking together, the courage to pursue the lost passion. As the race began, the hum of the engine mixed with the beating of David and Rachel's hearts. They sped forward, and amidst the noise of the dirt road and the howl of the wind, a smile appeared on Rachel's face. This moment, she knew, would be etched in her memory as the moment she would want to return to years later. As the truck roared down the road, there was more than just words between Rachel and David, there was a bond in the way their eyes met. They wanted to take this journey together, to chase after the lost dreams together. But unfortunately, the truck broke down unexpectedly. The engine's sound suddenly stopped. The truck seemed to give up and came to a halt. Rachel and David looked at each other in shock, unsure of what to do. As the other racers sped past, their hearts filled with frustration. But this wasn't a reason to give up. Together, they began to repair the truck. In the darkness of the night, under the stars, this duo worked on their vehicle, growing stronger with every moment of trust they shared while battling the dark. The sound of each tool was like the echo of an old dream, a rebirth. By the time they finished, they had the truck running again just as the first light of dawn began to break. The next day, they re-entered the race. When they finally crossed the finish line, they were in 40th place. But for them, this was more than just a victory. It wasn't the triumph of the truck, but the night they spent together, the support they gave each other as they desperately repaired the truck, and the revival of their lost dreams that was the real victory. They hadn't just participated in a race, they had left behind the pain of the past, the losses, and set sail for a new beginning together. At the end of the race, Rachel and David exchanged smiles, looking at each other. The smile on Rachel's face wasn't just a sign of victory, but an expression of appreciating every moment of life. The truck had now become more than just an old vehicle, it was a symbol of their new beginning, of finding the lost dreams. Looking at David with deep meaning in her eyes, Rachel said, "Sometimes, it's not about winning, it's just about participating." Her words expressed a truth that went beyond victory. In that moment, Rachel and David had found something they hadn't lost in their lives, the courage to dream again and the belief in each other. Victory was no longer about a place or a time, it was about loving again, trusting again, and reviving lost dreams. For Rachel and David, this race was the victory of holding on to life again, taking a bold step into the future without searching for the lost past. Rachel and David finally decided to build a new life together. Repairing the old truck was just the beginning of their journey. The truck was not just metal and tires, it was a symbol of lost dreams, the pains and losses of the past. However, it had brought them closer, freeing them from the scars of the past and preparing them to build a future together. The truck had become not just a vehicle, but a symbol of shedding the burdens of the past and sailing into a new life. They looked at each other, their eyes filled not just with hope for this journey, but for life itself. Having healed the deepest wounds of their lives, with something as simple as fixing an old truck, they had rebuilt their trust in each other. This simple thing had shown them the power of building a life together, leaving the pain behind and how to embrace every moment of life once again. David looked at Rachel and realized how much had changed. Years of loneliness, lost dreams, and the marks of the past were all put aside. Every moment spent with Rachel had made him a stronger, more hopeful person. "I want to do this with you," David said, slowly hugging Rachel. "I'm not alone anymore, Rachel. With you, I can dream again. I can go on this journey not with the burdens of the past, but only with you." Rachel responded to David's words with a deep sense of inner peace. "I know," she said, gazing slowly into David's eyes. "We're going to set out on a new journey together. This truck symbolizes not just the old dreams, but the future as well. The pains of the past will be left behind. Together, we'll find the lost dreams again." In that moment, they both realized that they had found new meaning in each other's lives not just through an old truck, but by shouldering the burdens of both the past and the future. With every step, they had rediscovered their lost dreams and strengthened their faith in each other. Now, they were looking not just at the past, but also at the future. The future wasn't just giving them new hope, it was offering them a chance for a new life to be lived together. As Rachel and David began every journey together, the truck would carry them further away from the pains of the past, with each new day strengthening their bond. This truck would accompany them on every journey, becoming a symbol of their lost dreams. Now, everything had meaning. All the pains of the past, the lost dreams, and the unfulfilled hopes had been revived with this new beginning. They hugged each other. This journey wasn't just about owning a vehicle or reaching a destination. It was about building a new life together, escaping the shadows of the past, and looking forward to the future with hope. The truck had become the rebirth of everything lost in their hearts, a new beginning for the future after shedding the pains of the past. And when Rachel embraced David, everything seemed so simple and meaningful. They were no longer alone. Together, they would build a new life by merging both the past and the future. The truck would symbolize leaving behind the pains of the past and the lost dreams, while also helping them to build a hopeful future. Each journey would be accompanied by the truck, guiding them forward. The future was no longer uncertain, it would be a story built together. Rachel and David were ready to follow their lost dreams, and this journey was only the beginning for them. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button. For more inspiring stories, subscribe to my channel and make sure to turn on notifications. Stay with us for a new adventure every day. Thank you.